Welcome back to the channel. I'm Zoe. Matt is in front of me on his new bike, and today I'm riding the KTM 890 Duke. Before we start, let's roll the intro. As I said, Matt is in front of me on his new bike. Can you guess what it is yet? I'm sure there'll be plenty of videos coming up to tell you all about it. But today the focus is on the 890 I am on. First impressions then. Bearing in mind this isn't actually my first time on an 890 Duke. I did take out one before, although it was the 21 plate. Also, I have ridden the 890 Adventure as well. I do remember when I got onto the Duke before, I was a little disappointed. That was me coming from a 390 Duke, which was my first bike. I jumped on the 890 and I just felt like it really didn't have too much more. Yes, of course, bigger engine, it was quicker, but in terms of bang for your buck, now I was left a little bit disappointed. Don't get me wrong, this bike is jam-packed of technology, but I think maybe what I felt let it down before was it just didn't feel like a premium bike. And maybe that's because it felt too much like the 390. Jumping on it today, so far, I have loved it. The price then, this bike as standard is £10,049. Now you've got a couple of variations on the 890. You've got the 890 Duke R, which is an extra £1,000 more. And what you get with that is you get the upgraded suspension, and you also get the upgraded brakes. You get Brembo calipers. You also get those lovely styled stock exhaust, which is pretty cool. The other variation is on the standard Duke, but it's the GP version, extra £200. Basically, it's like an uplift on the styling. It does look pretty neat, I'll give you that. This bike I'm riding today, the standard Duke, the standard 890, extras that have been put on it include the slip-on Acura exhaust, which makes the bike sound very sweet indeed. When I picked the bike up and jumped on, it really felt like I was coming back into my comfort zone. I think everyone remembers their first bike, and having had the 390 Duke, obviously, you know, this is very similar in some respects, but I just felt like getting on something I was really familiar with and comfortable on, which is always nice. The more and more I ride this bike, I can't understand my initial feelings when I rode the 890 here, a year ago. I feel like you get a lot of bang for your buck on this one. The engine then, jeez. The engine then is an 898 cylinder and it's a parallel twin. So actually, in terms of ride, it feels very similar to my M207, which is also a parallel twin. I guess competitors in the field, it's more geared towards competing against the M209, but the M209 is a triple cylinder, so the way it makes its power feels incredibly different. Whilst I've got it in street mode, this bike feels very manageable. As I said, it doesn't feel too dissimilar to my M207 other than it's slightly faster. But as I said, this is in street mode. So this bike comes with 4 modes. You've got a rain mode for obviously when it's raining. That seems fairly self-explanatory. Street mode for urban riding. You've then also got the sport mode, and even a track mode. That seems to be a good time to have a little look at the setup in front of us and see what we've got. What I love about KTM is it's always simple to use. Not too many buttons. A lovely clear TFT dash. It's not the biggest on the market, but equally there's so much on it that I don't think I need much more. So at the top on the left hand side you've got your lights, you've got your full beam, your daytime running lights, and then a passing light if you push down on the lever. You've got your main controls, including the set and the back button. The set button is basically like your enter button on the KTMs. Underneath you've got a good firm indicator. I know Matt is a sucker for a firm indicator. It's like one of the first things he always says when he gets on a new bike. It's like, oh yes, I can tell I've put the indicator on. Right hand side is just your kill switch, obviously starter. Actual dash itself, you know, you've got the time, you've got the temperature, trip, a fuel range, you've got a little fuel gauge over here, oil temp. You can see the mode you're in at the top of the screen, and then the screen is dominated by your speed and your gear indicator in the top left as well. Not to mention obviously a very clear rev counter. So as I said, we're in street mode. Feels nice, manageable, very like the M207. Let's see what happens when I press set to get into the main menu. Flick down into ride modes. And let's set it into sport. Close the throttle. There we go. It's in. As you can see, at the screen now says sport. Let's have a little play. Oh, my camera's fallen off, so let's just pull in here. Well, 5 minutes later from putting it in sport, and it turns out we were just entering a town, so I've not managed to check it out too much yet. But first impressions of putting it into sport is it's just so much smoother with the throttle, also in the lower gears, whereas I'm finding it quite jumpy, quite clunky, I guess, in street mode. That's all gone with sport mode. But there seems a good opportunity to talk about the extras that are on this bike and are obviously available to you if you buy an 890 Duke. Now, as I said, this particular bike has a slip-on, has got the Acro slip-on. The other thing that is optional is back into that mode setting. Let's scroll back down. Track mode is an optional extra. And if I select that now, close the throttle, there we go. So on the track mode, you can change throttle response. It's got the anti-wheelie, you turn it on and off, and it's also got the launch control. Let's leave track for the moment. So the default, it will always go back into street. So if you leave track mode, it goes straight back into street for you. But I'll put that back into sport. Close it. Cool. The other optional extra is the quick shifter plus. So it's got the upshifter and the downshifter. So this bike has already been fitted with it, but as I said, it's an optional extra when you buy the bike. It does not come as standard, which I have to admit I think is disappointing, but it just seems to be the common theme with most bike manufacturers that things are always an added extra. It's optional, it's on top, and you really do have to factor that in when you're buying a new bike. What can you go without, and what is it that you think you need? Personally, I wouldn't be too fussed about getting track mode. I know if Matt bought a bike, whether he was going to take it on track or not, he's likely to go for the track mode because it comes with the anti-wheelie choice to turn it on and off. Oh, and on cue, there he is. So the quick shifter along that bit is just so smooth, which is pretty unexpected. If you recall, Matt had a real issue with his 690 SMC. The quick shifter on that, like, really sluggish. It would hit false neutrals, but so far I've not had a problem. Downshifters too, yeah, smooth, like it. This is an optional extra that I would definitely go for. Having it in sport completely transforms this bike. Feels smoother, faster, more exciting. Other rider modes that this bike has then, obviously it comes with ABS as standard, but it's got the Supermoto mode, so you can turn off that rear ABS whilst keeping the front on. Just, you know, if you're inclined to do any skids. I'm afraid I won't be doing a perfect demonstration of that, so I apologise. It's got traction control that you can turn on and off as well, which always handy. The bike comes as standard with an assisted slipper clutch. Fuel range is saying 30, even though it's got 2 bars up, so probably should try and find somewhere. I didn't. Oh, there you go, there's the low fuel light just come on and a big warning sign. That's quite handy. I mean, it's dominating the screen right now. I don't think it... I wonder if you can't do anything. Let's look. Can we cancel? Oh, there we go. That's it. So the fuel has just gone from 2 bars down to flashing 1. rather disconcerting. Time to find a petrol station. That's to conserve my fuel. Put into rain mode. Close the throttle and so on. Okay. Let's see. Oh, there's a very clear difference when you put rain mode on. The throttle is slower to react. You're not going to be able to accidentally snatch at the throttle and lose grip. That's good. Oh, and stop it. Look at that. My fuel gauge has just gone up back up to 2 bars. Easy. Right, fuel stop then. Oh man, price of fuel is just making me sad every time I look at it. It's a 14-litre tank. Let's see how far she gets me. Okay, so that's brimming, and I've done just over 10 litres, so I mean, I don't think I was in desperate need. This is certainly a comfortable bike to ride. Just a little stop, little stretch off, but certainly no major niggles. You know, it's a comfortable naked bike. It's not as aggressive as the Super Duke. It's not quite as upright as the 390. There is certainly, you know, you're slightly more bent forward. I think that's because the handlebars feel slightly lower. But what I loved about the 390, which is the same on the 890, is that the handlebars are so close to you that it makes handling just sublime. You know, the steering's right underneath you, and it just makes flicking easy. Seat height is very comfortable at 820 millimeters, and as with the Dukes, you know, they're quite slim bikes, so you've got no problem, even as a shorter rider, getting on and off. You know, it's slightly too tall for me to be flat-footed on. You know, I'm certainly not, but I can get both feet on the floor, which is always a winner. The other thing is it's lovely and light. It's about 160, I think, dry weight. And again, it's just another thing that adds to the easy handling. Colour options for the Duke then, for the 890. You've got orange on black or black on orange. It is, after all, a KTM. But overall, I like the styling. I'm a big fan of the front LED lights. I think they're effective, but they also look spot on. They made kind of an iconic headlight. You know what's coming towards you. When I talk about the seating position, the pegs seem a little bit further back compared to something like the MT-07 or the MT-09, but it's still comfortable. Knees aren't too over bent. I think what the Dukes do well is the ground clearance. You know, it's a higher bike. Everything's a little bit more up, I guess. But because it's light, you don't feel like the centre of gravity is too high and therefore kind of top heavy. It's not like that at all. But it does feel like you can have some fun. I am thoroughly enjoying this bike. Side note, I'm glad the engine braking on this isn't too severe. If I like come off the throttle, I don't like lurch forward, which is nice. And I know lots of people have been saying it's because of the Euro 5 that was happening on other bikes, but I'm pleased to report not on the KTM. Thank you very much for watching. This has been my review of the KTM 890 Duke for 2022. If you're new to the channel, it would be great if you could subscribe, go check out our other content. There'll be plenty on Matt's new bike behind me. In the meantime, thanks very much for watching and ride safe.